Well, welcome back. You know, some kids have never known a world that doesn't look like this. With a screen in hand, everywhere they turn, this can come with a cost, as we all know, to your child's health and learning. And it's difficult with parenting too, of course. Developmental psychologist Dr. Marti Erickson is here to share how we can manage our devices instead of letting them manage us. And I know we've talked about this before. This is a subject matter that is just so important to touch on all the time to remind us. You said in your notes that after 2012, phones became prevalent. So Smartphones.
Yeah.
Right, smartphones with all the apps.
And that's a huge change.
That is. And so anybody under 14 has never known a life without, I don't have my phone right here, which is weird because I normally do, without the phone or the iPad. So that is a big deal.
It is. And you know, there are three things about children's experience since smartphones came on the scene in such a ubiquitous way. And first is that their parents are on their phones all the time. And this completely changes the dynamic of what's most important in infancy, because that's the time when babies are building an attachment with those adults who care for them. And the phones really interfere with our being responsive. No matter how good we are as parents, that's a fact. And I see it in my own family, I see it in myself, but that's a huge change for kids. So what does that mean? And then the second thing is people are giving the phones to the kids when they're babies still. I see babies with them propped up, or maybe their iTablets or iPads, and in their strollers while their parents are pushing them around the neighborhood or something.
Or at a restaurant, or
whatever.
Airplane,
yeah.
or
And
whatever.
I understand that, you know, to keep them calm and so on. And then the kids from the very earliest stages are being exposed to that constant barrage of stuff. And people are really finding out a lot about how that's affecting the developing brain. And
yeah,
so
it's
we
rewiring the brain differently.
Absolutely.
And we're learning about the consequences of that.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So you were mentioning ways that this is an issue. You said what happens, impaired focus, lack of serve and return. That's the parent thing that you mentioned.
Yeah, that is. We talk about it as, you know, you give your baby gives you a cue that they want to play or that they want to be left alone, and you're supposed to hit it back, you know, hit the ball back. It's like serve and return in tennis.
And you miss it because you're on the phone. Loss of face-to-face connection, limited physical activity. We talk about that with just not being outside and inside on the phone. Competition, rejection, and bullying.
Well, and that's as kids get a little older, but we're seeing it in younger and younger kids that they're experiencing the rumors or criticism, missing out, fear of missing out, all of that. And for some kids, that becomes a really serious thing and just incredibly affects their mental health.
I always think back, like, when we were kids, if you weren't invited to a sleepover, you wouldn't know until Monday at school.
Yep.
Now they know immediately they're not invited because they're not there at the snap. They're not at that because they know exactly where all their friends are. It's too much.
And sometimes, you know, people saying, oh, we're not inviting her because of this, that, or the other thing.
On the phone.
So right on the, you know, on text or whatever.
So this is what we should do. These are things we can work on. Getting kids hooked on healthier activities before introducing technology, really getting outside and getting that nature time. Limit your own device use as the parent or the grandparent, and decide how to manage devices as a family. You talked about a green hour and taking away at dinner time.
Yeah, and those are things that a lot of families have done, and I've learned from various families, you know, who are much younger than I am, various parents, about the things that really work for them. But what's important, I think, is to involve children in that. If they're old enough to be having a phone, an iPhone or whatever, you know, they're old enough to participate in decisions. And often kids will make very wise choices about how to limit the use because they don't really love it as much as they act like they do.
No.
And when, you know, so families might decide to take a walk after dinner, you know, any time of year in Minnesota, we love to get people outside.
Yeah, so have a conversation as a family and come up with some guidelines that you guys are comfortable with, and just obviously stick with them. Stick with them.
And unless you've got somebody who's an ER physician or something, you know, during meals, that's a hugely important time for conversation and face-to-face interaction. So definitely get the phones away.
There's so much more to talk about, and this is what you get into in your podcast. So
it is,
I love this. So let everyone know how they can listen. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you here as always. If you want to hear more on kids and technology and really how to get into this and put this into your family pattern, you can of course listen to Marti Erickson's podcast. It is called Mom Enough, and you can find it anywhere you find podcasts or on momenough.com.